Since I started this YouTube channel, people have always asked me where exactly I work and what I do. Now, you've obviously seen the title and thumbnail of the video, so let's not beat around the bush. I'm a software engineer at Meta. The problem I have with a lot of day in the life videos is that they don't actually tell you a thing about working at a company. You'll watch someone coding with a blurred screen, attending fake meetings, and maybe eating some snacks at the office, and that's about it. They don't talk about the day-to-day, the strengths of the company, and they definitely won't talk about the drawbacks. Despite a lot of the criticisms about Meta, the fact of the matter is that it's still a great employer with a lot of things going for it in terms of working there. In this video, I'm going to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly about working at Meta in 2023. Obviously, I can't show you any real code or real work being done because, let's be honest, I'm not trying to get fired for this video, so I'm just going to show you some random clips I took at headquarters a few weeks ago. Let's get the really bad stuff out of the way first, so we can end the video off with some positivity. The biggest negative to working at Meta right now is the situation with the stock price. In 2022, we saw the stock price plummet from $380 to around $125. Not all of this can be blamed on the company itself, as the entire world economy is basically collapsing right now. But for me and other MetaMates, and I can't believe I just called us that, we've seen our total compensation figures fall off a cliff. Setting a global recession aside, a big problem that Meta faces right now is just how much money the company is burning on this metaverse play. If you look at the overall financials, the company still makes a ton of money from its core products. But the metaverse costs are eye-watering, and this combined with headwinds such as TikTok competition and Apple's iOS privacy updates, investors aren't too keen on our stock. Our yearly refreshers will be based on a new low stock price, but this doesn't really help instill confidence in employees who in less than a year have had the majority of their initial grant value wiped away. I don't think the situation here is really going to change anytime soon, and if anything, we're probably in for more pain before the relief comes. Anyone who joins in 2023, if the hiring freeze ends, will probably be in an amazing position long term if they hold out, but for current employees, it's pretty dire. Piggybacking off the stock situation, obviously the horrendous losses have meant that for the first time in our history, we've experienced layoffs. This felt like a really big fuck you to employees because of how poorly it was handled. Pretty much everyone at the company knew they were coming due to some leaks to the Wall Street Journal, but for a company who prides itself on an open culture, the silence from the leaders here was deafening. Not only did 11,000 employees lose their jobs, in retrospect, the decision of who got cut seemed to be completely random. My team lost 2 engineers who are our top performers and both had a tenure of over 5 years. They lost their jobs while coasters on our team and in our organizations are still sitting around doing absolutely nothing. A really bad trend has been forming with the way announcements are done at the company. What used to be an open company with excellent communications, 2022 saw so many comms blunders that many employees, myself included, are starting to lose faith in the leadership. Before we get into the best parts about working at Meta, I have to touch on the bad parts, and we're going to start with work-life balance. It's really no secret that work-life balance at Meta isn't the greatest. There's a lot of really talented and driven engineers at the company, and this makes for an environment that's extremely results-oriented, and many people feel pressure to deliver. I've personally never really suffered from this because maybe I just got lucky on all my teams, or my time management skills are actually quite good, but I'd be lying if I told you it's not an issue at the company. Meta has always been a company that compensates top performers very well, so there's a ton of incentive to sacrifice your personal life in exchange for promotions and bigger bonuses. One of the contributing factors is that our review cycle is really focused on how much impact you shipped in the last review cycle, so people regularly try to squeeze as much out as they can. That, combined with the fact that ratings are also based on how your peers performed and that you're compared against them, this puts a lot of pressure on engineers to constantly perform at a high level, and this is a big cause for burnout. The second bad thing about Meta is that everyone uses Workplace. If you don't already know what this is, it's Facebook but for work. You create posts, join groups with coworkers, and you have a news feed generated, etc., etc. You've probably used Facebook, so you can imagine the layout. While on one hand, Workplace is great because it's a really easy way to stay up to date with all the relevant information at the team, organization, and company level. But on the other hand, it's also a massive pain in the ass. It's generally expected that you constantly make posts about your work to bring attention to what you're doing. You have to tag other people who will then leave comments and like your post, and you have to do the same for them. You'll actually be penalized in your performance review if you aren't quote unquote visible enough, so you need to make posts, engage with other people, and leave discussion comments. There's so many posts, notes, discussions happening on Workplace that you're forced to use this daily just to stay up to date with what's going on and to engage with your coworkers. An issue here is that it's not always just work posts. Workplace can have personal stuff, and it's really easy to get distracted looking at cat photos in the cat lovers group or reading the drama of some long comment thread on a controversial post. Oh, and then there's the people who are going to use the platform to push their political views or complain or just random nonsense that you really don't need to be reading, and you can start to get the idea that it's a bit of a shit show. Probably the thing that hurts the most about working Meta right now is that I really do feel like the company's best days are well behind it. This is my second time working at Meta. I first worked there from 2015 to early 2018, and back then there was a real buzz about the company. The platform was growing at a crazy rate, we were shipping amazing features every week, the stock was roaring up, and Facebook was just the place to be. Fast forward to 2023, the stock is in the toilet, budgets have been slashed, perks have been diminished, and employee morale is at an all-time low. The company is just not what it used to be. The pandemic did have a lot to do with it, and especially in the office. A lot of people are now remote or hybrid working, and the atmosphere just really can't compare. It really does feel like the company has hit an inflection point. We really aren't going to grow the core products anymore, and it's now more about managing the shrinking user metrics and trying to keep the ship on course given all the headwinds. From my perspective, the leadership is putting a lot of resources behind the metaverse play, and that seems to be their vision for the future of the company. But I personally don't see how this metaverse thing is going to work or take the world by storm like Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp have. There's growing sentiment among employees that this is an enormous waste of money, and that the sooner we pivot back to our core business, the better off the company will be. No one can really predict the future, but where we are in the present, it's clear that things aren't as they used to be, and optimism really isn't that high that we'll ever return to the glory days. Now that we have the negativity out of the way, let's talk about the good and why Meta is such a great place to work. Probably the best part about Meta is its engineering culture. Working there, you really get the feeling that it's a company by engineers for engineers. Software engineers run the show here, and you're given a ton of freedom to do your best work, whatever way that is for you. Meta has a really hands-off approach to work style, and what this means is that you won't really be told what you should be doing, and it's up to you to identify and take on projects which interest you and are impactful. There's a lot of ambiguity in the projects you can take, so you have the freedom to choose your own path and deliver. There's also no forced way of working like Scrum or Agile, and managers are for the most part encouraged to be pretty hands-off, in the sense that they'll trust you to get the work done and won't interfere too much. They're there to steer you in the right direction, but a lot of the responsibility is placed on your shoulders to do what you need to do on time and to a respectable standard. You've also heard that Meta is pretty hacky, and that's definitely true. The preference here is to ship things out quickly and iterate over them. The old motto of move fast and break things may have been phased out, but it's largely the way people still work. You aren't really penalized for getting it wrong, and even if you cause a massive SEV, the SEV review process is more focused on ensuring what needs to be done to prevent it from occurring in the future, as opposed to a witch hunt of who needs to take the blame. That being said, obviously no one is actively trying to ship bad code, but it's nice to know that when a bug slips through, and trust me, there'll always be at least one bug, that it's not the end of the world and you won't be put to the sword for it. Another great part of the culture is that collaborations across teams are expected, and this means you get to interact with a ton of engineers, data scientists, designers, etc. across the organization. You'll get the opportunity to work alongside other really smart people and deliver on projects that are of much larger scope than anything you could build yourself. Another one of my favorite things about working at Meta is just how seamless the developer experience is. The company has invested millions of dollars and thousands of hours of developer time in making your life as smooth as possible. A lot of people worry that coming to Meta will be difficult because they have to learn new programming languages like Hack. But when you get there, you'll quickly realize how easy it is to pick it up and how much work the internal codegen tools and frameworks do for you. Meta is a company with world-class internal tooling, and pretty much every pain point you can think of has been taken care of. Do you need a remote server to do your dev work on? No problem, just click a button inside of VS Code and you'll be automatically connected to your own personal on-demand server. Need to query petabytes of data? No problem, the query engine developed in-house will take care of that for you, and it'll do it at lightning speed because it's all processed in memory. Want to run your CI pipeline when submitting code? No problem, it does that automatically and even detects relevant tests for you. I could go on, but the point is, the tools available to you are there to take care of your every desire. The only problem with this is there's so many great tools out there that it actually takes a while to learn what each one does and how to use it properly. But that's a small price to pay for the power you'll wield when you're able to hit your stride and start being productive. The last thing for me to touch on is the learning opportunities available to you. It's no secret that Meta as a company is one that's always searching for the top talent in the industry. Working at scale and large compensation packages make it an extremely attractive employer for the best of the best in the tech industry. Even if you aren't lucky enough to be mentored by one of these 10x engineers, you can still reap the benefits of their employment. Remember earlier when I said that Workplace was one of the bad things about working at Meta? Well, there are actually some upsides to Workplace. One of these is that the top engineers are constantly documenting their work and giving advice to the company. Workplace is a vast repository of first-hand accounts from top engineers of how they tackled some of the biggest software engineering problems that the company has faced. Things like how databases were scaled to handle billions of users, how to process real-time interactions at meta scale, or even the story of how tools like GraphQL were created at the company. I'd liken the knowledge available here to drinking straight from a fire hydrant. You can take in so much information to help you grow as an engineer by just learning from the experience of other talented engineers. And the best part is, there's really no end to these accounts. It's more your own time to read them that's limited. On a similar note, it's not just the past experiences of top engineers you can leverage. Meta is a company that is deeply invested in open source technology, and it's an amazing thing to be able to reach out directly to the engineers who wrote and maintain a piece of software. For example, if you're stuck on a React problem, you can reach out to the literal core library engineers and ask for help. Or if you need help optimizing your neural network in PyTorch, the team is there to answer your questions, assuming they have time. Putting technical things aside, you then also have thousands of accounts from your peers on how and what they did to get promoted. You can read about the projects they undertook, what kind of problems they solved, and how they approach things to give you a better idea of how to progress your career. There's thousands upon thousands of engineers out there sharing their stories, and you can turbocharge your career by just sitting down and ingesting this content. I think this aspect of working at Meta is really easy to overlook. People get so wrapped up in their work that they don't really take the time to look around and realize the wealth of information and knowledge available right at their fingertips. If you ever find yourself working at Meta, make sure you don't let this hidden perk of the job slip past you. So I'll probably leave it there in terms of all I have to say. Of course, I could probably go on for hours complaining about Meta and also giving it praise, but we can save further discussion for the comment section and for the Discord community, which, if you haven't already joined, I'll leave a link in the description below. At the end of the day, there's a lot of really good and bad things about working at Meta. The current situation isn't great, and I'm not gonna lie, morale is very low among employees. That being said, there really isn't another FAANG company that I'd want to work for at the moment. Amazon is notoriously shit and pips people like crazy. Apple I see as more of a hardware company, and the work at Netflix doesn't really appeal to me. And then there's Google, which is probably the only one I genuinely consider leaving Meta for. The only issue here is that I cannot be asked to deal with their horrendous interview rounds. I absolutely hate dynamic programming, and it seems like that's all they ask. And I'm also a full stack developer with a product focus, so the thought of having to use Angular or having my product killed off after months of work is a really big deterrent. Despite the chaos, I'm happy at Meta, and I wouldn't change it for the world. This place has developed my career so much and taught me so many things that I feel a genuine loyalty to the company, as foolish as it seems. Now, if the stock dips to like $50, that's another story, but for now I'm planning on holding through the rough waters, and we'll see where we are in a year's time. Hopefully you enjoyed this video where I talk you through some of the good, the bad, and the ugly about Meta. If you want to see more of this sort of content or are interested in leak code solution videos, then drop a sub to the channel. Also, a like and a comment really helps me out with the YouTube algorithm. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!